Hello and welcome to Learning Android Studio, how to effectively use Android Studio to create Android applications. We'll begin with the basics, how to get around and navigate Android Studio effectively. We'll get comfortable with using the interface. Later, we'll progress through some more practical and complex issues such as debugging and optimizing our code. For the experienced developers, as with most technical publications, you don't have to go through the chapters sequentially. You can address the chapters as they pertain to your needs. But if you're not familiar with Android Studio at all, or are just learning Android development, you may wish to go in sequence. I hope that you enjoy these chapters, and I hope that you find them useful. The goal is to make you, the developer, be more productive and efficient, but mostly have more fun. Hello, and thank you for joining us for Learning Android Studio. In part 1 of this first session, we're going to cover downloading the components needed to get Android Studio working on your system. The first thing to do is download the Java Development Kit. We can find that at Oracle's website. Once on this page, we can select the Java button here, and you can see the Java SE option below. Java SE stands for Standard Edition. That is what we want, so let's select that. That brings us to the Java SE Downloads page. At the time of this recording, the latest version of the JDK is Java SE 8. So we will scroll down the page a bit, and you can see 3 options: the JDK, the server JRE, and just the JRE by itself. JRE is the Java Runtime Engine. We don't want the Java Runtime Engine. We want the JDK, the Java Development Kit. That's the first one on the list. So we'll choose this. Again, that brings us to Java SE Development Kit 8. Now on this page, we have several packages to choose from. You want to identify the package that is appropriate for the operating system that you are using for your development. I will be using a Windows 64-bit system. So I will accept the license agreement here, and then I'll go down to the very last option that maps to Windows 64-bit, and I'll select that. Now while that is downloading, we can take advantage of this time to download the Android Studio. What I like to do is just navigate to developer.android.com, go to the search bar and type in Android Studio here. Once we do that, you should be able to see Android Studio Overview option. I scroll down to where I see Download Android Studio Now, and I select that. Now I come to the page that says Download Android Studio for Windows. I press that button. I scroll through the terms and conditions. I select that I have read and agree with the terms and conditions. And now I can download the Android Studio for Windows by clicking the button. Now once these packages are both downloaded, we can continue with our installation. Now that we have our packages downloaded, the first package we want to install is the Java Development Kit. So we double click on the JDK to install. The version that I'm using is Java 8. I'll select Next. I'm going to select the default packages and then install them. Select Next. We'll go through the installing process here and hit Close. The next thing we want to do is install the Android Studio bundle. It contains not just the Android Studio package, but also the Android SDK, the virtual machine, and the Intel optimization package. Select Run here. The first real Android Studio prompt we have is the Welcome dialog. Select Next. And there are the packages I was referring to: Android Studio, the Android SDK, the Android Virtual Device, and then the performance package for Intel. I want to install all of these, so I will just select Next, select I agree again. The default paths are fine for me. You can change them if you wish, but the first path here is the installation path for Android Studio itself. The second path, its default there, is fine with me also. For my machine, it's identified that my computer can take advantage of the Intel optimization package. It's a hardware accelerated manager for x86 processors. And in my case, I can take advantage of that. My emulator will run much faster. And I want to use it, and I want to configure it correctly. It's recommending to use 2 gigabytes of RAM for that manager. That's fine. So I will select Next. The next I have is for the Start Menu folder, so I will keep that the same. Click Next. You'll notice Start Android Studio is checked. When we click Finish, Android Studio should start up automatically. Let's shrink down this window so we can see. It's noticing that the SDK tools need to be updated, so it's doing that too. Now you can see that the install is finished. It displays the items that were installed, the location, the platform tools, and so forth. Okay, that's it for installing the Java Development Kit and the Android Studio packages. In our next section, we will focus on highlights of Android Studio and why it's so cool.